Hey guys, welcome to another video on Brand Device, Business and Finance. My name is Bharat, and in this video I want to talk about the second property that I bought recently in the capital city of Romania after our first house that we bought on an island in Denmark. And now if you see, these are like two extremes, because within EU, Denmark is one of the wealthiest countries, whereas Romania is still considered a country which is developing, and the poverty level in Romania is still bad. And if you compare these two things, the house buying experiences and a reason of buying these properties in these two different places, I think a lot of things will be clear of our mentality of just diversifying things. And I'm also going to talk about why we haven't yet bought an apartment in Germany, and if that is also something that you should maybe keep in mind and use some of those lessons to make a better financial decision for yourself. Again, very important, because this is individual situation. So whatever I'm going to tell you here, it is going to be applicable to my situation, and you just learn those lessons and try to apply it to yourself. So I'm going to take you to the screen, tell you a bit about my investment portfolios, and then show you if for you it would make sense to buy an apartment or a house in Germany or not. So the first time we bought a house was in October 11th, 2019, and it was on an island in Denmark. Now, why did we buy a house there? The reason was that in 2016, Alina and I, we got married on this island. And that was something that we always wanted to come back to. The island also had a lot of tourism, and there were a lot of people getting married there. So my wife Alina, her entire business is about helping people from different nationalities to get married easily in Denmark. And then afterwards, if you're living in Germany, if you're living in any other EU country, it is much easier for you to register yourself, and you just need 2 or 3 documents. That's it, and you get the approval in 5 days if you file the application properly. And that is the reason why the international couples, or even like people coming from different kind of countries, they would generally take Alina's help. They would get married in Denmark, and they would essentially very easily get their marriage registered. Because in Germany, getting married, if you're from 2 different countries, it is a very painful process. I and Alina went through it, and that's why we decided for Denmark. So when we went there, we really loved the island, and we were like, okay, like it would be nice to someday come back to this. And in 2019, when we were looking at different kind of real estate prices, first we were taking a look at the prices around Hamburg. And every time we would go to the website, we would be just depressed, because we would see the different kind of prices. And Alina and I, our businesses still hadn't really picked up at that time. Like Alina was earning, I think, around 2,000 euros brutto, so like the netto would be around 1,500 euros, and my business was also making me around 2,000 euros, 1,500 2,000 euros per month. So you can say like this was a very normal income for also most of the people who are working in Germany. So I was like, okay, if we are going to live in Hamburg, like why should we really go to the most dump place? Because the buildings, for example, are not in a good condition, or the neighborhood is not really nice. There's some kind of crimes whatsoever around it, and maybe you do not feel safe and so on. So I was like, okay, like it does not really make sense. And then just one day Alina got curious, and she started taking a look at the prices in Denmark on the island where we were getting married. And that completely changed everything for us, because the prices there were absolutely insane. For those of you who don't know, the real estate prices in Denmark are still very, very reasonable when you compare it with Germany. And sometimes you can find the exact same house in Denmark for at least fourth of the price than what you would find in Germany. So for us, being still at a younger stage, I think in 2019 we were 25 or 24. No, I think we were 24 or 25. In 2019, we were still 24 years old, so we had absolutely no desire whatsoever to take some kind of massive debt and just spend the rest of our life just paying off that debt. So for us, it was very important that whatever we try to buy, the debt on that should not be that massive, so that we still have the freedom, we still have the flexibility to do anything we want afterwards. So the house that we found there on the Danish island of Ero, it was just absolutely lovely. I think like the space and stuff was very nice, but the house was in a very, very bad condition. So the house was built in 1785, and then it was renovated in around, I think, 1860, and then afterwards in 1995 and so on. And a lot of the work which was done in the house was done by the person who was owning the house himself. So he was some kind of handyman, but not a good one. So he would just make extensions after extensions. All of the electricity in the house was illegal and so on. So we were like, okay, we are going to buy this house, and we are going to renovate this house step by step. Now, Alina's family, many people there are handymen, but unfortunately we did not receive much help from them other than Alina's grandparents. They were very nice, they helped us out, in so many times. So we are definitely very grateful for that, because if we wouldn't have had this first house, we wouldn't have been able to build so much flexibility and freedom to, just go into so many different sectors and so on. So the house was nice because we had the idea, okay, like one side of the house we are going to rent out in the summers and you can make nice money from it, and the other side of the house we are going to stay. And that was absolutely lovely, because right now when we take a look at the house and how much money it is generating us, it is generating us around 12,000 euros per year at least. And of course, sometimes it is more, sometimes it is less. So far, it has been the second year that we have been renting this house, and we have absolutely no regrets, because when summer hits, a lot of people come to the island, a lot of tourists, and they want to book longer stays, and everything in Denmark is generally more expensive. So when we price the stays at our house as a bit more expensive, for Danes it is generally not a problem at all, and they're happy to book longer. Now, a few details about the house. The house has an area of 2,400 square meters, and it has 4 bedrooms, 2 living rooms, 2 kitchen, 2 bathrooms, and 1 gym. The total built-up area when we bought the house was 197 square meters, and afterwards we made more renovations. We made 2 new rooms in the house that brought the total living area to 240 square meters. So we are actually very happy with this house, and it was really a gem that we could find, because right now if you would take a look at the housing prices, even on the same island, the prices are again insane. And that was like just before the COVID crisis hit, because we bought the house in October 2019, and like this entire lockdowns and stuff, they started from January or Feb, which was very scary time for us, because we thought, okay, like we are spending so much money inside this house, we had so much hopes from this house that people are going to come, they're going to rent the house. We had made a nice list of like 180 people or something who were in the waiting list, so that once we launch the Airbnb, people are actually going to come and live there. Funny thing, not a single person showed up from the 180 people waiting list. So like that was the first like moment when I realized that it absolutely makes zero sense to like rely on people to do something. You just have to make the best out of whatever is available to you, and not really expect too much from people, even if they say a particular thing. So that was definitely a very scary time for us. We were very nervous, and like we needed like family's help at that time and so on, but unfortunately like nobody was able to help, and like we had to invest our own money inside and make the repair slowly and slowly. But we are very proud like the way things blasted afterwards. So just in 2020 itself, my business really picked up, and things like really changed. Like with that, I was able to also build my stock portfolio now for 100,000 euros plus. That was previously on Trade Republic, but now I have shifted everything to Scalable Capital, because it just has better costs, it has more flexibility. That is, even if you go to any other EU country, you can still have your depot with Scalable Capital, which is so nice. With Trade Republic, as soon as you leave out of Germany, your depot gets frozen, and they have to transfer your securities to some kind of other depot, or they will sell those securities and like give it out to you later, which is just absolutely horrible. So if you're an expat and if you're living in Germany, you should not consider any other depot other than Scalable Capital. And if you want to open your free depot there, you can use my referral link given below, so that you support this channel without any kind of additional cost to you. Now that 100,000 portfolio has come to around 171,000 euros. So I hope I will be able to cross 200,000 this year. I think that would be a nice milestone. And even if that wouldn't be the case, I would still have my second property that I bought now in Romania. This is a studio apartment in a newly built complex. I know that many times when you take a look at Romania, or especially Bucharest, you will see a lot of buildings which are pretty run down. There are cracks everywhere and so on, but we bought this studio in a very nice place. It is called Aviate or Pipera. So yeah, it's a nice area of Bucharest, and it's on the outskirts. And a lot of people are living there who are working in some multinational companies and so on. So people who have good earnings are living in that area. So when we were taking a look at the rent and stuff, that was also a bit higher. We were living in the same apartment complex on rent where we bought the studio apartment, because that made us realize and gave us more security. Okay, like if you are living in Romania, it is not as bad as people say, because when we were living in Germany, everybody used to just like talk shit about Romania. And when we actually started living there, like we saw that it is actually not that bad at all, because I come from India. Like for me, the safety standards, or like, like the things that you would expect from the public authorities, police, government officials and so on, that is very, very low. But people who are living in Germany or who grew up in Germany, for them it is very high. And somehow, like, all of a sudden, like, anything which is not the same way like in Germany just becomes bad all of a sudden, which I did not really understand. Yes, there are a lot of things which are nicer in Germany, of course, without a doubt whatsoever. The economy is stronger, you have better working environment and so on. But in Romania, I think, like, for businesses, it is still very nice, and with their nice taxation system, which again hasn't changed after the minimum global tax got imposed. So you are still paying a nice tax rate of around 1% on the entire revenue in Romania, which is very nice. Which is why I also encourage other entrepreneurs who are maybe living in other countries that you should also think about starting your company in Romania. And if you need any kind of help, you can contact me and I can also support you with that. Now, this studio apartment I bought for around 99,500 euros, and it has an area of 51 square meters, and I bought it via my company. That means I did not pay any kind of VAT. If I would be paying VAT on an apartment here, that would cost another 19%, which would make the price to 119,000 euros. So I saved around 20,000 euros just because I bought the apartment from a business and bought it from another business. So as long as you have two VAT codes, you can sell the apartment or the real estate without any kind of VAT added on it, which was again a very nice incentive, which many people do not even know about when they are coming in as expats to another country. Or if you do not have a company, again, this is going to be something that you will not be able to avail. But if you want to start a company, like, then there are so many other benefits that you can have when you are, making investments in Romania. Now, talking about buying a house in Germany, like I said, like, at that time for us, it absolutely did not make sense that we put so much money inside in a small apartment or in a house which is not really ensuring us a nice, quality of life or a living standard. And, like, especially if you want to live in the city, it is very difficult. And also, we have decided to rent out this apartment, and it is a similar type of studio, actually a bit bigger than what we were living in. And we were paying around 600 euros per month for that particular apartment, plus utilities and stuff. So it used to come around 660 euros. But for us, the profit, for example, from this new studio is going to be 7,200 euros. And if you see from our house in Denmark, that will be around 12,000 euros. So around 19,200 euros is an income that we can expect from our real estates now at the age of 26. Now, if you want to buy a property in Germany, there are a few calculators that you should use to decide if it makes sense for you at all to buy a new property, or does it make more sense for you to just rent out further and put the money inside somewhere in some kind of ETS, in some kind of stocks and so on, and maybe that gives you a better return. For this, you can use this calculator on the website test.de. So there are a few different examples that I wanted to share with you so that you can get a better understanding and see if buying an apartment makes sense for you or not. So for example, here we have the price of the property, then we have the other costs. So other costs are generally your Notarkosten, Grunderwerbsteuer, and so many other things, which are generally around like 10%. So we put 50,000 euros inside. Then you have maintenance costs of the house or the apartment, let's say 1%. That is the general number that you take, so 5,000 euros per year aside. And then you have like other numbers that you can put inside. The main thing is the rent that you would be paying if you would not be buying this apartment. So here I've taken 1,200 euros per month. So if you like see that you're just putting 20,000 euros inside, which is going to be a realistic scenario for most of the people, you would see that it would only start making sense for you after 20 years. And then you would be essentially like, saving some kind of like money on the side. And the exact year is 22nd year. So if you see these kind of numbers, like, make some tests for yourself and see if it makes sense for you or not. Now, there would be another scenario with, let's say, just buying a small apartment or something in one of the major cities. And there again, it is much easier. So you are going to get some kind of positive returns after 19 years itself. So like, use these calculators and make some kind of test for yourself. For me, that was a no-brainer because I had like money lying in the bank account and it was just burning a hole. Because again, if you're living in Europe, you know that we have negative interest rates. If you have a lot of money lying in the bank account, you're paying the money also as interest to the banks. For example, I have my business account with TransferWise, and as soon as you hit above 70,000 euros, you are paying minus 0.4% of negative interest rate just for keeping your money in the bank account. So I was like, okay, it just does not really make so much sense. And this is going to now give us something tangible to hold on to and also generate some kind of passive income on the side and with no debt whatsoever. So this is something that I personally like. I know there are a lot of people who differentiate between good debt and bad debt, and I think that is reasonable. I think I will also make a video about it. But for us, at least at this stage, like, we want to have the freedom to not answer to anybody. We don't want to answer to a bank. We don't want to have calls from them. We don't want to have some kind of ongoing payment and so on. And if I really look back and like give you one big tip, like that would be just like, starting your own thing. That is so important, because once you start your own thing and you get relevant help, and help is not always cheap. So yes, you can watch a lot of YouTube videos, but that is always passive consumption. But if you want to go for some kind of coaching whatsoever, that generally always costs a lot of money. I took my business coaching from a guy in US, and that costed me around 5,000 euros. But that money I was able to make back, like, at least like 10 or 100 times over without any kind of problems whatsoever. So this is something that you have to keep in mind, that whatever you want to do, you have to make a nice plan for it. And maybe what everybody else is doing might not be a good idea for you. So in those kind of scenarios, taking some help and understanding what is the way forward will always be very helpful for you. I hope this video gave you insights on whether you should rent or buy, or what kind of deals you should be looking out for if you want to buy an apartment or a house, and that you should not really be restricted to one single country if you have the freedom to move around. That is very important, because if you think about it, Romania is a great place to be in when everything is going great. Like, you don't have any kind of crisis whatsoever. There is no drama. And you can, like, do your business nicely. But on the other hand, in times of crisis, you have paid taxes in Denmark too. That means you can pick and choose. In times of crisis, you can go to Denmark. The government is a lot better there. Like, people say that they trust the government more, and they also take care of their citizens. So in those kind of scenarios, you will have this flexibility of just like choosing and picking any of the country that you want to stay in, and you would have a reason behind it, and the reason is going to be your business. So this was pretty much it from my side. If you have any kind of questions whatsoever, you can let me know in the comment section below. And if you want to sit down for a one-on-one appointment, you can also book that with the link given in description. I will see you in the next video.